This is Gear Club Unlimited 2. We're here on Xbox Series X taking a look at this title that was originally on the Switch that has now arrived on the Xbox. And yeah, it actually is optimized for Series X, and it's kind of a neat, different sort of racing experience that on the Switch, was kind of very, very impressive for what that console could do. And on the Xbox, it's kind of like, yeah, okay, alright, and pretty decent. So what are we getting here? We're getting a 4K resolution, 60 FPS, and no HDR support, but it does have some really neat features, and that is in the case of up to 4-player split-screen action that you can enjoy if you want to race in that way. So the game has a bunch of different tuning options too, which are kind of neat, and I think I really need to do something about the assists or something like that. I don't know if I need more anti-skid or something. I think it's usually at 50. Like semi-pro is like this, but I find that the braking kind of drives me crazy, and I just can't quite get I don't know, like a perfect combo going for the movement and stuff. But I'm trying to show off the different camera angles, so this is the one I usually use. And yeah, you just kind of go along these different tracks and you compete and race in order to win points, in order to improve your vehicles, buy new vehicles, improve your shop. You get like a whole shop that you can kind of adjust and play around with. There's different difficulty tuning options, and there's a lot of different settings and ways you can compete. There's these clubs you can join for some connectivity online. I think my group is the Project Gotham Racers, so that's kind of funny if you know PGR from the 360 era and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. But yeah, it does seem to actually run perfectly fine. It does look pretty good, all things considered. I'd say it really shines with the actual car models that are present. The cars do visually look quite good. Now, there is a lot of, I guess you could say, pop-in and texturing stuff. There's some weird scenarios where the lighting kind of doesn't properly work in caves, and your car is just pitch black, it's missing all lighting texturing, which is super weird. But it actually is still a pretty decent game, and it's got a chunky amount of material to it. It's this really weird gap of there clearly were super high resolution texturing options that were present, and they sort of just really downscaled it for the Switch, and then they kind of upscaled and imported it to other places. So yeah, there actually is a quality amount of content in this one in terms of arcade racing action. Like I said, you could play locally with others, you can compete in a single player sort of campaign story that actually is quite long. It's not really a story, but it's more hey, you're building your workshop, you're doing custom parts, you're getting vehicles, you're earning points, and you're doing races. It's got stuff like that. I think it's quite neat, and just a ton of different environments that are present, all kinds of unique aesthetically visual locations, winter stuff, desert stuff, summery places, trees. Now, when we get to a tree level, I do have some funny visual things to kind of point out in regards to some of the reflections. And that basically is, and I don't know if that's going to show up here. I don't know if this car is quite reflective, but if you get a Mini Cooper and you go by the trees, you can actually see the trees popping in visually. There's a lot of pop-in on stuff like that, tree density. But you could see them kind of popping in on the top of your vehicle's reflection, which I think is hilarious. So there's also apparently a gamepad support, which is kind of interesting. So mouse and keyboard. So that's kind of cool. A wide range of different vehicles, more than 250 races, over 3,000 kilometers of tracks you can do. So there is a lot going on here. So we can go to, I think, the performance shop and kind of show that off. And it does load pretty fast. I have the Ultimate Edition. I think that gives you extra content. But yeah, you kind of, you have your own little workshop here. And you can build all this stuff, and you can rank things up, and you can unlock, new stuff, and you can do aesthetic things. You want to put in vending machines, stuff like that. You can change the look of your club too. So you kind of just earn credits and kind of do stuff, and then you go in here and you'd be like, okay, well, we've got we got this car here. I think my what is it? My Chevrolet thing. Where is my other car? This is not the car I want here. But you can switch between the different areas, the different vehicles you have. No, I don't want to do that. Oh, there we go. So I've actually customized this. We can take it over here and you can see like I got the top tier engine in it and stuff. So you can customize things and, you know, adjust the visuals. I added little silly stars because you needed to add 5 stickers on a car for an achievement, so I did that. But you can change like the coloring. You can put decals on. You can do all this other like cosmetic type stuff. So you can really personalize your experience. And you can take the car and you can adjust like the tires, and you know, you could do other adjustments for different races. Like there's quite a lot going on this one, just in terms of your different settings and different like mods and customization, and that's kind of cool. So that's like your little space that you can personalize, you can build, you can adjust stuff, you go wild, right? It's kind of neat. So then you like a ton of races, and some of the races are like multi-tiered, so you can spend like, you know, a lot of time going through these different challenges. I think we did, what did we just do? Did we do this one? Mini versus Airbrith. Is this new? I think we gotta use the Cooper on this one. So, you know, there is a lot of content. Like I said, I played this on the Switch, so it's mostly just like taking a look at it on the Series X, and it's not bad. It really actually isn't that bad. It's kind of like a solid, pretty good racing offering. I think it's really cool that it's arrived on the Xbox. Like I said, it's way more impressive on the Switch. Like, it actually is quite impressive on the Switch. But on here, it's okay, it's fine. You know, it's a solid experience. But if you're looking for something like, you know, racing for like local type experiences, that's kind of cool. There is also a rewind feature. So if you want to rewind, you know, you mess up or something like that, kind of cool. So I think it's great, and I think that most modern racing games should have that sort of option. There are, like I mentioned, lots of handling choices, so if you want something a little bit more easygoing, you know, you can have those in the settings. You want more freedom, you kind of do that, which is kind of neat. There's some decent music playing as well occasionally, some cool audio beats, and I think it's just actually quite a nice and enjoyable package. I think it's quite a fun time, and like I said, there is a lot that you can do in this game. Like, you can play it and play it and play it, and I think that is quite neat, and I think that offers, you know, just a lot that you can do. And I know this is a very similar terrain, but there seriously are like just like a wide range of different, you know, kind of maps and stuff that you can play, which do vary quite a bit, and they have different track layouts and different biomes. And, you know, like I said, the snow, there's some more city type places too. You know, you're going through like houses, and, you know, some of the maps are a little bit more windy. There is quite a lot of variety in this one in terms of the experience. And there's a lot of different cars, and you go to different dealerships to buy different vehicles. You know, obviously you got to earn credits for that. So I spent a lot of my credits on like upgrading stuff to try to get some easy achievements. So, you know, I didn't really buy too many vehicles, but you know, I kind of played around, customized. I put the stupid star decal on my Mini Cooper there, and it's just kind of nice. Like, I think the models of the cars actually look quite good, and they do have a lot of the top tier brands. And it's just kind of funny seeing, like, you know, visually the outside world isn't like super impressive. Like, you definitely should be noticing like pop-in and stuff, and, you know, shadows kind of loading in. But I think if you're mostly focused on the vehicle, you're probably not going to notice that a whole lot as you're whipping around. It's just like, it's definitely something that wasn't specifically done for next gen, you can tell. But at the same time, they did add some bells and whistles in order to make it a much better experience for those that are on the next-gen consoles. And there's a bit of like a sliding technique on this one too, in regards to like taking corners. You could do like drifting and stuff to a degree. So, you know, just keep that in mind. It does handle decently well, and it still has quite a bit going on here. I don't know if these trees are going to quite show up. I want to kind of like trigger that on the where we'll do a different race, and hopefully that'll show up. Just because, again, the tree thing I find very funny, because it's just like the way the trees are kind of like loading on your car is very, very entertaining. And there's regular races, there's like time trials, like there is quite a lot of different, you know, racing choices that you're allowed to do. Okay, we could do versus Chevrolet. And you can go here and you can be like, should we take a look here? Yeah, we'll do that quickly. And you can just go and buy different vehicles. And like I said, it all loads like super, super fast, which is nice. So if we had the credits, you know, you could buy this car, get some different colors. Maybe do like a test drive. Can I test drive this? Yeah, let's give that a whirl. But that's how you get vehicles. You kind of go and you buy them at the different shops and stuff like that. It's kind of cool. And like I said, a range of different vehicles. Like you just play like an absolute ton of this game. then you definitely get your time out of it. So it just depends on what kind of racing game you want to get. Like, there are, so many different racing choices this gen. Like, you really do just get like a complete treat of, historical racing games on Xbox, and then on top of that, like, brand new games, and you get things like this. And I mean, look at this car. It's super fancy and high end, right? Like, you look at the front here, it just looks very visually quite cool. And then you can just, like, customize your experience further, and I think they give you a wide range of different things you can enjoy in this one. Like, seriously, you could just play an absolute ton of it. And when I heard that it was coming to, other platforms, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I do actually kind of like what this one has to offer. I find it to be quite neat, and, they definitely did some cool things with this one. I'm just kind of happy to see a game available on more platforms. The more games available, like, the better, right? Like, that's the thing. Especially with car games, like, you can get all kinds of different options, like open world games, there's more like circuit, and I think this one actually threads the needle as being like a really cool arcade offering, something that, has these fancy vehicles, has some serious racing, but is also kind of a fun, easier going time that, I think is more applicable for more people. Like, they do a good job on the reflections a lot of the time, which I think is neat, but, sometimes you get, like, just a tree pop, and it's just hilarious. It doesn't show up very well on this vehicle, but yeah, it's quite neat. We were just, like, rolling there. Huh, it definitely looked like that crash, that it got a little, like, jaggedy around there. I wonder if that's, like, more of a hardcore dynamic resolution scaling on that one, and you can, like, look behind you and stuff. Very typical racing thing, which makes sense. And you can tap, like, LB for that, or use your, like, right stick. A little bit of a hardcore drift going on there, and again, the point of this is just to be like, hey, this is how this car handles in a different, like, terrain. I'm trying to show off a bunch of different, like, locations so you get an idea of, like, hey, there's different biomes and stuff you can visit. But I think we did enough of this test drive. Let's go and give up, I suppose? Give up this test drive race? That's funny. Oh, I got an achievement for dropping out of a race. I mean, I don't think that really counts because it's like a test drive, but whatever. It's kind of funny. And let's go back to the world map and do another racing scenario. So there are championships, exhibition races, Grand Prix, there's a lot of stuff to do in this one. Countdown, restriction by model. I think this one, time attack. Yeah, that's something a little bit different. Let's get the Camaro going out there. It's a nice car, what can I say? Yeah, so there's different types of slight road alterations as well. And it's neat, because I did play the first one too, which was, I believe, only on the Switch. I don't know if that came to other platforms, but this one, yeah, like I said, it was on the Switch, and I was like, this is, like I said, like, you look at the Switch, and I keep saying that, but you look at that and what kind of power it has, and you'd be like, ooh, wow, a 3D racing game, that's kind of really impressive. And then you look here and you see that, obviously the expectations get a little bit higher for different console offerings, and it's good that they were able to keep this one still, like, to be a quality product still, even though there's lots of competition. I think that's really great to see. So like I mentioned, it's actually a lot of fun. It's actually quite enjoyable. I think there's a lot you can play here. You can spend a lot of time sitting here racing on different tracks and enjoying what it has to offer. Just keep in mind that this is the style of the game. It's not quite like other racing titles. They do some different things with it. They still have some fun. They still offer some unique gameplay, scenarios, and experiences. There's the cool league type things where you can interact with others, which is kind of cool. But it very much is focused. Oh, and there's like some multiplayer type event sort of things, like community challenge stuff, which you might find neat. But it very much is sort of a single player experience if you're just doing, career stuff. If you're doing like local multiplayer, I think that's quite cool. It's neat that it offers like up to 4-player split screen. I actually find that to be kind of impressive. And it just seems to handle decently well. But like I said, you may need to adjust how you're handling and everything is sort of structured on this one, because it can be a little bit, I don't know, like a little bit like, oh, I don't like how much the game is controlling my settings, and that's really down to you sitting there adjusting and fine-tuning how those are all set to something that you feel is comfortable, allows you to handle your vehicle, but maybe also get some assists. So I think the game offers a lot of different ways for you to interact, play, compete, and race, and I think it delivers it, like, package-wise. I think there's a lot here. I think there's a lot of content, lot of races. You play this like over and over and over again, and you have a lot of fun with it. So I think that's about all I have to say. Enjoy some more gameplay of Gear Club. Well, basically Gear Club Unlimited 2 on the Series X. Again, the Ultimate version, and I don't know how that impacts things, but I think there's different version tiers, as with most games, you know. So kind of look into that and what you get offered, and decide from there if you like what the experience has to offer. But here's just some more regular gameplay of me hitting the road.
You